Today's hot take, when it comes to Coues deer hunting, Mexico is just better. Welcome back to Setting the Record Straight with Mad Hunts. I'm Connor Maddock.
And I'm Tim Maddock.
And today we wanted to talk about Coues deer hunting and just why we think Mexico is just better when it comes to Coues deer hunting. Coues deer are only indigenous. They only live in Mexico, Arizona, and New Mexico. They're their own subspecies and they're their own category in Boon and Crockett. So we love Coues deer. We hunt Coues deer all the time, and we specifically love hunting Coues deer in Mexico.
Yeah, so we do. We love hunting in Mexico. We've done it for many, many years. We've hunted here in Arizona a fair share. We've hunted in New Mexico a fair share. But in our opinion, we love Mexico. And to get into it today, we just want to go through some of the reasons why we think Mexico is so much better than hunting here in Arizona or in New Mexico. For me, to start off, one of the biggest reasons is because the majority of Coues deer are actually found in Mexico. So there's more deer there as our first point. It's really hard to find the specific numbers and breakdowns for number of Coues deer in Arizona, New Mexico, and Mexico. But roughly estimates show that there's about 90,000 Coues deer in Arizona, approximately 10,000 in New Mexico. There's really not a good estimate for how many there are in Mexico, but everything I've read, all the research I've done, is that there's more Coues deer in Mexico. There's thought to be more Coues deer in Mexico than there actually is here in Arizona, or Arizona and New Mexico combined. So first point, there's just more deer in Mexico, and more is better.
Absolutely. More is better, more better. But 100%, the more deer you have, the easier it is to find big deer. That's just kind of a fact. Having a higher population, I think, is a little bit what makes Mexico not necessarily easier to hunt, but it's perhaps easier to find big bucks that everybody's looking for, is because the numbers are there. Even on these desert ranches that we love to hunt, and we set trail cameras out on and everything like that, we find that there are higher deer numbers there than just most places that we hunt in, like Arizona or New Mexico. So the deer numbers are definitely there in Mexico. But there's more hunters in Arizona. And that was going to be another point that we talked about today, is that there's more deer in Mexico than New Mexico and Arizona combined, but there's more hunters in Arizona. And that kind of leads to, there's more Boon and Crockett entries from Arizona than Mexico. But I don't think that that's because the trophy quality is lower in Mexico. I think it's just because there's more hunters.
Right. I think it would actually sort of be flipped. I think there's better trophy quality in Mexico because there's fewer hunters.
Mm-hmm.
I think the average hunter that goes to Mexico is looking for a trophy deer, so they pass on the younger, immature deer and they let them live to another day. Whereas in Arizona and New Mexico, the number of young deer being killed each year, along with the medium age deer and older age deer, it's just more. And so the age class of deer in Mexico being what it is, it's going to allow more opportunity to shoot a trophy buck in Mexico. And I think the Boon and Crockett numbers show that. If you look at the Boon and Crockett entries over the last 10 years, my research is showing Arizona with 116 entries, New Mexico with 22 entries, and Old Mexico with 68 entries.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you're saying, there's more hunters in Arizona. Yes, they're going to kill more big deer. That's why you have more Boon and Crockett entries in Arizona.
Yeah.
But if you were to take the same number of hunters and put them in Mexico, I think we'd blow the Arizona Boone and Crockett numbers out of the water.
Yeah. Well, and just like you were talking with the 68 Mexico entries, I think what 3 of them out of the last 10 years are here somewhere.
Yeah, that'd be
We
true.
have no 4, I think, because we have Big Mac, Big Tex, Burger, and this
guy right here.
115 over there.
Yeah.
So 4 of the last 68 are right here in the Mad Hunt studio. So kind of a cool little fact for you. But 100%, I think if we translated the hunters to Mexico, the Boone and Crockett entries would skyrocket from New Mexico. But along with that, we'd have more hunting pressure in Mexico, and the age class, would start to get shot out as well. And that's why I love Mexico, particularly, is because there's not as much hunting pressure. Obviously, there's predation, there's predators that hunt these deer, but most of the time it's private land that you're hunting in Mexico, and so you can do it however you want. You can hunt with whatever you want: a bow, a rifle, a shotgun. We've tried to do that, find a good scenario for that. So I love that there's not as many hunters in Mexico because it leads to deer that aren't as pressured.
Along with that is the competition. When you're hunting a private ranch that is pay to play, essentially, let's call it what it is,
Mm-hmm.
there's less hunting pressure, and so I'm not rubbing shoulders with an orange army of deer hunters like you can be here in the States, in Arizona and New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a better quality hunt, and we're able to pass small deer and really target in on those big old M factor bucks that we find in Mexico.
100%. And a way that we can do that is, as you guys probably know, is trail cameras. We love trail cameras. And guess what Arizona did, I think 2 seasons ago? They banned them. We can't even use them. So I think that's a story for a different day, but Arizona Game and Fish, come on, man. We love trail cameras. Not just because it's like a cheat code, but because it's fun. I love clicking through 10,000 pictures of cows for one picture of a big old Mexican buck with that M factor that we talk about all the time. So trail cameras are completely legal in Mexico, and we love to use trail cameras. That's my favorite thing to do.
Absolutely. I think we'll have probably our own trail camera podcast in a future episode going over the pros and cons of trail cameras. But I think it's one of the dumbest things that Arizona Game and Fish could do in terms of managing their deer. By using trail cameras, we're able to single out the older age class bucks, and we're able to focus in on them year after year and harvest the older age class bucks that are done with the breeding out of our herd, and really manage our deer herds on these ranches to another level. But we'll keep that for a different topic, a different day.
Yep.
We've used trail cameras in Mexico for many years, and it's an asset to us. But at the same time, like you alluded to, it's not a cheat code. We've hunted so many deer in Mexico. For this deer in particular, has over 30 hunter days on one buck. We had all kinds of trail camera pictures, but it took over 30 hunting days to put him on the ground. The trail cameras didn't help us kill him in 5 days or 3 days or 2 days. It's not a gimme. It's not a cheat code. We love using the trail cameras just to see what's there, just to find cool bucks, know what's in the area and what's hunting. And that's definitely something that our family has done for years and years here in Arizona, and other places, is setting trail cameras and just watching wildlife, the lions, the jaguars, the coatimundi, the javelina. Trail cameras really help, I think, a person get a better understanding of their hunting environment, their hunting conditions. I think they make you a better hunter, not a cheat code hunter that just is able to go out and slam a bunch of deer because we got pictures of them the night before.
I think perhaps what could be a cheat code, if you will, is being able to hunt during the rut every year with your rifle, with your bow, whatever, but being able to hunt during the peak rut when these deer are out cruising for does. in Arizona, there's no rut hunts that you can draw. Yes, there's a bow hunt, right after Christmas into, the first month of the year, January, but you can't draw that hunt with a rifle. You can only archery hunt it, and sometimes the units aren't even open anymore because they closed the units. They killed all the deer. Being able to hunt during the rut allows us to put more bucks on the ground year in and year out because um, we're able to chase them when they're cruising for those does.
Yeah. They actually, if you look at some of the hunting dates in Mexico, the season actually opens about mid-November and runs through the first 10 days or so of February. So it's 80 plus hunting days a year that you can go down and hunt Coues deer and mule deer too, in fact. But Coues deer specifically, you've got 80 plus days. You can hunt them through the late summer where they're still batchered up in early November. Occasionally we find velvet bucks still. It's kind of an oddity, but it does happen. You can hunt them in the pre-rut of December. You can hunt them in the full rut of January, and even getting into the post and secondary rut in early February. So you have a full hunting season in Mexico. In Arizona, your best case scenario is with an archery tag. You can hunt late August, you can hunt early September in the velvet season. After that, you jump forward to the second half of December with your bow, and then you can get into the January rut hunt, but that's archery only. So we all know how tough these Coues deer are to hunt, and kudos to anybody that has ever shot one with a bow, whether it be over water or spot and stalk. It's really a difficult challenge to do it with a bow. So in New Mexico, then, the best you're going to do as far as the rut is concerned is they have a January bow hunt. It's pretty tough draw odds, and it's pretty tough to spot and stalk deer with a bow. So Mexico definitely checks off all the boxes in terms of rifle archery equipment and the season and dates that you want to hunt, and that's a big plus in the Mexico box as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would agree. The dates and the timing, they play such a big factor in just deer movement, how many deer you're going to see, everything like that. We've had some hunts in Mexico, but Arizona and New Mexico, that the dates were just, we were week early, week late, everything like that. So being able to pick your dates that you want to go down, if you're a believer in the moon phase, you can base it around the moon phase. Give or take the second week in January is going to be your best rut down in Sonora, Mexico. And so, you can pick those dates that you want to go down instead of it just being a set time every year that, okay, these are the dates, and if you draw it, then you draw it, and you snooze, you lose, I guess, if the weather's bad or if things like that happen. So the dates are really important to us.
And don't forget, it's hard to pick your dates when in Arizona and New Mexico, you have to draw.
I know.
And some of these tags, if you want a December tag in Arizona, it could take you 10 plus years to draw that tag. So picking your dates to go, yeah, I get it. You're picking, whether you want to hunt in the early season or the late season, but how are you supposed to plan ahead and pick your dates that, hey, in 2025, I want to be hunting in Arizona or New Mexico? Well, one of the reasons I got started in Mexico is because I wanted an alternative to Arizona hunts. I wanted to be able to hunt a trophy Coues deer every year without dealing with the drawing and without having to, scout all these new units and whatnot. So that's how I got into Mexico, is I wanted to be able to go year in and year out, whatever, whether I drew a tag in Arizona or New Mexico or not.
One thing that I will note is that Arizona and New Mexico, they're in the United States. We live in Arizona. Arizona's in my backyard. I can go find Coues deer within an hour of my house. And so, perhaps it is a little bit cheaper to hunt Coues deer. They're closer, but you only get one a year. Same with New Mexico. It's one mule deer or one Coues deer a year. Um, and so yes, it's a little bit easier, but bag limits, you're only limited to one. And so, going into Mexico, you referred to it earlier as pay to play. Yes, it is pay to play, but you can play more, perhaps.
Hmm.
So you can have multiple tags.
Correct. And kill more multiple deer.
Hmm.
I've killed as many as 3 Coues deer in one season in Mexico. Um, the stars aligned. It happened the way that it did, and I'm grateful to have had that experience. But you're allowed to do it. You're also allowed to kill a mule deer and then come back and kill a Coues deer if you want. In Arizona or New Mexico, if you killed a mule deer in an earlier season, well, then your Coues deer season is done.
Yeah.
Your Coues deer tag is burned. So, depending on the ranch that you're hunting, depending on the outfitter that you're hunting or how you're hunting, there may be opportunity where you can be set up on a ranch in Mexico where you can shoot a deer, and then if you want to shoot another deer, then you can pay an additional fee to shoot that additional deer.
Hmm.
Sometimes it has to be prearranged and you shoot that deer up front. And other times, you're able to shoot your first deer. And then if you shoot a second deer, you have to pay a trophy fee essentially for that second deer. But again, you have the opportunity, if it arises, to shoot multiple deer, whether it's on one hunt or going back for multiple hunts. You're able to do that in Mexico, and it's not something that you can do anywhere else in the US, Arizona and New Mexico hunts.
Yeah, we always have the hypothetical. We're sitting in a water hole or we're glassing on a hill, and it's like, Dad, what if I'm sitting in a water hole and the buck I'm hunting comes in, and then a 120 comes in right next to it, and for us in Mexico, we'll shoot one and then reload quick and shoot another one, and that's a realistic possibility, that you can totally do that. You can shoot multiple
100%.
bucks legally. Of course, don't poach ever in
Anywhere.
anywhere. But you can have opportunities to shoot multiple deer down in Mexico, and I like that. You're not stuck on one deer on one ranch kind of thing.
We get
So
a lot of hunters. I hear it all the time. A hunter will come into camp and they'll say something along the lines of, I'm going to shoot the first 100-inch buck that I see, and
mhm.
then I'm going to hold out for a big one, a 110, a 115, a 120 after that. I hear that all the time. It doesn't always work out that way. We love it when it does, but it's always part of the experience in Mexico. And the great part about Mexico, as we've talked about, is you never know when something like that's going to happen. So having an additional deer in your bag limit is always a cool factor to include in your decision making process.
We've hinted at we've referred to it multiple times as the pay to play for Mexico. So we wanted to talk a little bit about tag pricing for Coues deer, DIY versus semi-guided versus a complete fully guided hunt. It does vary between outfitters, between ranches even, but give or take, what's our pricing breakdown for those tags?
Well, best I can figure it, doing some research online, I think getting a Mexico tag, on the cheapest prices I'm finding for Mexico tags is somewhere in that $3,500 range. And then there's outfitters that are all the way up over $8,000, $8,500 for guided hunts. Some of them actually have trophy fees and whatnot included, and can really exceed those numbers. So $3,500 to $8,000 plus is where I would put the cost for Mexico. Looking at the Arizona numbers, it's about $95 for a hunting license and tag here in Arizona for a resident. Somewhere around $475 for a non-resident to get a tag and a hunting license. New Mexico, I believe, is about $41 for a resident, and depending on which tag, they have some different categories. They're 283 to 368 to actually get the deer tag. So There's a huge discrepancy in the price for hunting Coues deer in Mexico versus hunting here in the States. A huge discrepancy. That's probably the biggest turnoff for most guys, is the money that you pay for these Mexico tags. And that's okay. But usually there's a lot less scouting involved for guys that go to Mexico. They're going to drive to a ranch. And so their gas and their hotels and all of the, gear, sometimes these outfitted hunts are fully equipped, and the food and everything is included in those prices. Whereas you flip back to the Arizona and New Mexico hunts, the tag price is one thing, but you still have to pay for gas. You still have to pay for food. You still have to pay for, your buddy to tag along and help you with the hunt. And so sometimes it's really hard to quantify those numbers and to compare and contrast those two numbers.
Well, and you have to pay for putting in for 10 years. You have to pay for your hunting license, and then the fee to put in, which is I think $15 for the
give or take
to put in for 10 years. You had a 23 late tag last year for Arizona, and what was the points on that you needed? 12? 13?
I think it was 12 or 13 points to draw that tag.
So, for me, I have my consecutive Arizona bonus point, and then I have my hunter safety. So I have two that just kind of are there forever. So it would take me 10 years along with those two to draw that tag. So I have to buy the license every year, which is $45.
Yeah.
And then a tag to put in every year is $15. So what is that? $70?
Well, yeah, $95
$60,
is,
yeah, whatever.
95 is the total cost of a tag.
Yeah,
and license.
But you have to put in for 10 years to draw that. So
miss out on all those 10 years worth of hunting opportunity in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. The way we like to put it is, you already have the hunting gear. You already have the nice binoculars, the nice rifle, the nice camo, or whatever. Why not hunt? Why are you going to sit and wait for 10 years just so that you can use that, once? Go out hunting every year. And so, yes, the Arizona archery hunts are a great opportunity to get out and hunt every year, but nothing beats Mexico. The Mexico hunting is just a complete experience. You get a Mexican cook, you get to live in a ranch house for 5 days, 10 days, whatever you're down there for, and so it's just, you're in a different country, and it's just an experience that is like no other hunt that I've ever been on. So there's also that downside for Arizona, that you have to put in so long for it.
100%. And in that time period, maybe it's not the price that you're paying, but it's the things that you're missing out on, the experiences, because you don't get to enjoy those hunting opportunities every year.
Yeah.
So, I think this is the cost of it is one thing, but before we close this out, maybe let's talk a little bit about the ease of the hunting process down there. We know how easy it is to get into Arizona and New Mexico, but how do we get a guy into Mexico? What is the process there? What needs to be done?
So we actually just took two guys down there last week that had never been down to Mexico, and they were not nervous, but they were a little skeptical of the process and how hard it was going to be. And afterwards, they were both saying like, "Oh, this isn't that hard. It's not that bad." Essentially, you just need all your paperwork. You need your passport. That's the biggest thing. Have a passport. Then you need your gun paperwork, which we can handle over here at Mad Hunts. And then we need
the UMA contracts,
the tag, like the UMA contract, and that's pretty much it. That covers all your bases. We have to declare guns on the American side, and they check serial numbers and go in and put it in their computer. Then we check guns in on the Mexico side. They check serial numbers, go and put it in their computer, and essentially we're off to the races. We get visas, and then we drive right down to the ranch. And then on the way home, we declare our guns back to the U.S. side. They go in, check serial numbers. We declare hide and horns to the U.S. side. They go and make sure there's no ticks, anything like that. So it's really not that complicated of a process if you know what you're doing, and if you have the right people that you're going with, that they have all their ducks in a row.
And it just so happens that that's what we do here at Mad Hunts. So is we set up our hunters on do-it-yourself ranches or semi-guided hunting ranches where you can have the opportunity for us to do the paperwork, for us to do the legwork up front, to get tags, to get access, to get the ranch, to get the contracts, to get the gun permits, and to show you the process so that you can hunt these Mexico ranches just like we do, just like we've had the opportunity to do over the past 20 something years. So there's certain things that we need to be careful of, and we got to kind of keep our head on a swivel down in Mexico and mind our P's and Q's and follow the laws. But it really is a simple process, and it really is a process that can be enjoyable. I think both those guys that you're referring to last week had a great time down there and really had an opportunity to experience something new that they've never seen or never done for themselves. It's eye-opening. But 100%. It's not that difficult when you have the right people in place that can get the process underway and take care of all those things for you. It really is a great alternative to hunting in New Mexico and Arizona.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. In summary, hunting is hunting. Just get outdoors, go get lost. Just go hunt, really. We prefer Mexico because you have longer seasons, you have no draw, you have a higher bag limit, you can put trail cameras out, there's less hunting pressure. We have all of these different reasons over 20 years of trial and error. But ultimately, just get out and go hunting. If you do want to go hunting in Mexico, reach out to us over here at Mad Hunts. But that should do it for today. We'll see you next time on Setting the Record Straight.